All right, Coach Locker, here we go. If we can do a little rewind first, just kind of put a bow on last year's season. I know it was difficult for you because it just seems like week in and week out you just had injuries. I mean, it's part of the game, I know, but it just seemed to really just snowball on you guys all year.
Yeah, that was an unusual number of injuries, and if you look at the people involved, 6 kids in street close down on a sideline, many of whom were two-way starters. It just made life more difficult. I will always respect the effort of the kids, including the ones that are here today. There's no moral victories, but nobody pulled their starters against us ever. And if you look at it, 8 out of the 10 games we won the second half. I think that's carried over. If you look at the 4 young men we brought here today, they are integral parts of what we did last year, and then they remember how it felt last year. So we expect them to carry that into what they do this year. But that in and of itself cannot be the reason you're a good football team. I mean, there has to be intrinsic desire, and I think that they all have that. So,
do you think that? I mean, obviously, if you come out and you've got to have that desire, but to go what they went through, does that kind of add to it?
Yeah, I think when you see hey, all the prep work we did physically, we've talked about how we may have overemphasized the physical aspect and not spent enough time on the mental aspects about little things, like offsides penalties, 5 yards here, 5 yards there. We had an amazing amount of 1st and 15s on offense because we just made little mistakes, and that makes life more difficult, especially when we weren't a steamrolling run offense last year. That's just reality. Had an awful lot of young kids playing offensive line, especially once Detter got hurt. He was a keystone of what we were doing. All of a sudden we got sophomores playing. They did a great job, all things considered, and that's going to pay dividends this year. But we just, 3.7 per carry, less than 1,000 yards for a season isn't going to get it done. I mean, we're used to having kids who run over for 1,000, not even getting there as a team. So I think we'll be a better run team.
Yeah. So how was the involvement in the participation as far as the off season is concerned?
Our kids lifted well. We speed train. I mean, we start in December. We have a core group of kids. Saturday mornings are optional, and especially if you're playing another sport, which we encourage. But if you're not doing anything, Saturday's optional run and lift. The Saturday optional run is pretty grueling, all in all. It's designed to put you in shape before you get to the season. It simulates football in terms of sprint, rest period, stuff like that. We average 20 kids on a Saturday, a day off. Nobody forces you to come in. We average 20 kids coming in, and a lot of it were the same kids, and a lot of our kids are sitting here. So we expect that leadership model to carry over.
All right, so let's take a look now. You're going to have a new quarterback, Thomas Myers.
Yep.
All right. So talk about him and his work in the off season leading into this year.
Has done everything I've asked him to do and more. He studies film on his own. He and Judah and Quinn are the kind of leaders who they'll get kids together on a day off and go out and throw on their own. When we first saw him as a quarterback, we used the term raw, but he had a strong arm. So he has worked really hard to become technically sound, bright kid, very intelligent, reads defense as well, understands the progression, and puts a lot of time into it. We're going to want him to early on manage games, not expect him to win games for us. I mean, he may have to, but what I'm saying is, you're talking to somebody who once upon a time had no problem rolling the football and say, hey, why don't you chuck it 35 times because I'm pretty sure we'll be A-okay. We're going to throw the ball. We're just going to try to do a slightly better job of setting it up through our run and being a little more patient. We'll still throw deep, but we'll be patient, and we want him to work his way into a comfort zone as we go through the season.
If your approach is, as far as running the ball is concerned, is there anybody that's kind of standing out right now, or is it going to be
Gabe Sanchez and Malachi have looked good in the offseason. Our offensive line has looked considerably better. Those young kids playing last year, they're all juniors now. Brunken, Bent, Landis, and Eckert are all juniors who saw field time. Owen will be the leader of the offensive line. He's an excellent football player, very intelligent. I think we'll be a good run team this year.
Well, you take lumps one year and hope that they obviously pay off.
Learn from it. They better.
Oh yeah. All right, so let's talk about the defense then. What are we looking at?
Our 6 leading tacklers return. That's where you start. Off the top of my head, I'm going to mess this up. On the offensive line, Hirsch, Bagonis, Jackson, Gabe, Quinn, and Judah were the 6 leading tacklers last year. So they're all back. So, and plus you look at people, Bodie Madera played some last year. Reese Harper played some defense last year. We have some DNs who saw rotational time because we try to get our players off the field, especially if they're playing offensive line. We try not to keep them out there too long. Our defense has to be our rock early on. Keep games close, impose our will defensively, put us in a situation where we can be controlled offense and still be in the football games, allow sometimes to grow as an offense and just, see where that takes us.
Yeah. So as you get ready to open up practice, with the acclimation and then the full-fledged practices, what do you see as keys for a successful season?
Defense playing up to its potential that we see it. Offense going about what we hope would be, which is better run game, play action pass, control pass, grow little by little by little. Early on in the season, make the games winnable, put us in a position in the fourth quarter to win football games. Hope that what we saw last year, in second halves last year, we were good to go physically. It's just that you can't fall behind the way we did. You look at games like Souderton and Exeter. In the Central game, I think we just didn't come to play that night. But you look at Souderton and Exeter and some of those other games. Physically, nobody subbed out against us, and we more than handled our own, which reflects the work we put in. Now, if we can clean up the little stuff and not fall behind early, and not put ourselves in a bad position, I think we'll be good to go.